So a few months ago, somebody reached out to me and asked if I could complete this kit. This is a Pocher. Well, you can read Mercedes-Benz 500K Sport Roadster 1935. And this was, I'm not going to, I want to respect the individual who asked me to build this for him, so I don't want to give any, personal information or details. But basically, a family member started it years ago and is unable to finish it, and he's asking me to finish it for him. And again, that's all I'm going to say about that. Now, I already did a complete build series of a Mercedes, and almost exactly like this. The main difference is it's missing, this does not have the third light and a couple of horns right there. So there's just a couple of very minor differences, but everything else is pretty much the same. But the individual who commissioned this build bought a whole lot of detail stuff from model motor cars from these guys right here. And I've mentioned these guys before because I get a lot of parts and hardware from these guys. But again, the individual who commissioned this from me got a whole lot of stuff from these guys. For example, they got a it's early. A seat kit. So there's castings of these seats here, and these are resin castings, got to be covered in leather and all the hardware put on. So I might do like an individual video about these. We'll just kind of have to see how that goes. But he bought a lot of engine detail stuff. He bought new windshield trim, headlight stuff. So what I may do is like just videos of stuff like that. But I thought what I would start off with this one is when he sent this to me. Now the frame was all put together. It wasn't exactly perfect. Some of these parts don't fit very well here, so I'm going to have to address that. The firewall and engine and transmission were all installed, but everything is just kind of loose and not fitting properly, so I took all of that apart. Here's the transmission as it sets right now, so I'm going to have to strip that down and redo all of that and paint the aluminum. The engine is in pieces. This is the main chunk of the engine. But anyway, so I thought what I wanted to start with was remaking these cross member pieces. These, one sets right in here, on the bottom side, kind of like that. And this other one sets on the bottom side back here. And if you look at these, they are bent. Might be hard to tell on the camera, but they are bent. And on the original, not the original, but the first Pocher one of these I did years ago, I remade these out of aluminum, and I remade them out of a couple of pieces. Like I made this one piece, and I made this one piece, and I bolted them together. That was kind of a pain in the butt. So I thought I would try a different kind of a pain in the butt with aluminum. And I have one piece that just happens to be the correct thickness. So I'm going to cut that whole piece out of there, and then I would say mill it to shape, but I don't have a milling machine, so I'll probably have to file it to shape. We'll just kind of have to see how that goes. I do have some aggressive files, and I do have an auto filer I just got, so maybe that'll make an appearance. Now, one thing I do want to add is that this was not my idea to make these out of aluminum. When I built that first Pocher years ago, I was on a forum, and it has been years since I've been on that forum. I honestly, I don't remember what the forum is. Something like Model Motor Cars. Nope, it's not, because that's these guys' website. Motor Model Cars, maybe? I think it's Motor Model Cars. I don't know. I got to look that up again. But on that forum, which is a lot of Pocher, a lot of scratch build, just a lot of big car building stuff, a lot of incredible building stuff. If you guys want to see some amazing work, you gotta go there if you can find it. If I can find it, I'll put a link in the description, maybe. But anyways, I think it was on that forum where somebody said that these pieces right here are basically holding the weight of the car, and over time they bend. And this one is bent, and it hasn't even been holding the weight of the car yet. But over time they bend and they break, then the whole back end just sags down. So these need to be a lot stronger. So I will be laying this out in aluminum. Same with this one, but what I want to do first is lay this one out. I've already blued it with a blue Sharpie. So let's take this over to the bandsaw and rough cut this out, and then I'll come back and we'll lay this one out. All right. Next step is to lay that out. Now, just in case you're curious, that is 9.78 millimeter, 0.38 inches thick. So we need to lay this out. Now this edge is already straight. That's the edge I did not cut. This is the edge I did cut. So we have one straight edge here. And so I'm going to take the part out of it just like that. So we need to get the thickness of this part. Call it 9, very close to 9, 9.1. But what I'm going to do, and I know a lot of you are going to leave comments. I know to some of you that's like fingernails on a chalkboard. But you know what? This is my tool, not yours, so I can do what I want to with it. It was cheap. If this was like a, I don't know, a nice expensive pair of calipers, I wouldn't do that. This was like 10 bucks. Well, maybe not that cheap, but still, they were cheap. So there's that, and I need to get right here. Now you notice I can't just do this. I can't do that and scribe it because, or can I? Hold on. Is that straight across? Well, I think it's supposed to be, but I think it's just bent. So I'm going to go straight across, but add maybe 0.5 millimeter. So we're just going to do this and 16.68, and I'm just going to take that to, well, 17. Let's just take it right to 17. And that's about right. All right, there's our two main lines. Now what I need to do is find a center point. And yes, I do have an actual scribe. I'm not that big of a barbarian. So I'm just going to scribe in, I'm just going to eyeball it here, scribe in a center point, and we'll go from there. We'll call that 40. Now when I cut this, I'll be a little bit oversized, and the plan is to file it to the proper dimension. $121.5, 121.6. So we'll go 60.8. All right, so to the bandsaw, you know, I only assumed that edge was straight. Yeah, it looks pretty good. All right, I'm gonna go to the bandsaw and cut that out. And of course, all of that is waste. Just making sure I know what I'm keeping, what I'm getting rid of. So you already saw me use the bandsaw once. Just a couple of straight cuts and I'll be right back with you. All right, so there's that. And the next thing I want to do is file it to shape. Notice I'm away from the scribe line. Can you see that? I'm away from the scribe line a little bit. So I'm going to file that square. I'm going to file and file. I'm going to get this all square in 2-dimension, and then I'll worry about how to mill in those steps. Now the files I use, just in case you're curious, I got one of these at a yard, not a yard sale, at a thrift shop somewhere. This removes a lot of material pretty quick. So I'll use this to get it, you know, as close to the line as I can. And this actually this actually leaves a really nice smooth surface as well. So this is my primary file. If I need to, I'll use a rough one like this, but this is my primary one here. Should be able to get some nice straight square edges. I'm just going to put it on my bench vise off to the side there, and it's just a lot of minutes of doing this. All right, that's all it is. So I'm not going to record it. You're not going to miss out on anything. I'll be back in just a minute. All right, so I went ahead and drilled the holes, and you'll notice that on the plastic part, those are slotted. So I drilled 2 holes. I'll connect the slot later. The way I picked up the holes was with a Harbor Freight transfer punch set. And you know, I was just at Harbor Freight like last week, I think. So I saw the set and I'm thinking, those might come in handy someday. So I bought them, and today was the day they came in handy. So I just clamped that on there and transferred the holes, took them to the drill press, drilled them, no big deal, pretty simple stuff. So now what I need to do is mill that surface down and the back side of that, and you'll notice I marked everywhere where metal comes off. That way I know what to keep and what to take away. Now, like I said before, I don't have a milling machine. And filing that by hand, which was my original plan, would take a really long time. Now, I could take it to the bandsaw and slice off that surface here, but the bandsaw, I wouldn't be able to stand that vertical, not safely anyways. So the plan is, I do have a drill press with an XY table. I know you're not supposed to mill on a drill press, and I know why. I understand that, I get that, but this is aluminum. I will take very small passes. So let me get set up on the drill press and we'll try it and see how it goes. If it works, it works. If not, well, I'll try something else. So just in case you're wondering, trying to mill it on the drill press, I knew it wasn't going to be good, but it was a little bit worse than I thought. I mean, it was working, but man, it was just chattering like crazy. So I took it out of that. I didn't want to abuse my drill press too much. So I stopped that. And so now I have just been standing here doing this for, you know, quite a while. I'm almost through that way. And then what I'll do is I'll take the saw that way and cut that chunk out. The other 2 areas, here and on the other side, I can do those on the bandsaw because I can cut those in the orientation that it's in now. So another couple of days of hacksawing here, and I should have that chunk out. But so yeah, I need a milling machine. Until then, I'll use this thing like a chump. And I need a new blade. This thing is worn out, and it's my only one. And I would go to the store and buy more, but my car's in the shop, and it's a long walk to Lowe's. So let me get back at it, and I'll show you what it looks like when this part's done. Alright, so I got that chunk cut out, and I just started filing a little bit. I still need a lot of filing left. And I cut those out on the bandsaw, so I need to file those smooth. But this is the basic shape. And as you can see, there are a couple of notches that still have to come out. Right here, right there, got to notch that out. And here, that gets notched out. And I could probably just do that on the bandsaw easily enough. That'll probably just be, I could bandsaw that or file it, probably bandsaw and then file. And I still need to connect the two holes to make the slots. But that's coming along. I'm just going to keep filing and cutting, and I'll come back when that part's all done. And look at that. I mean, honestly, who needs a milling machine? Well, I do, obviously. I need a milling machine. If any of you have one you would like to donate to the channel, hook me up in the comments. I'm only halfway joking, and by halfway joking, I mean I'm joking unless somebody actually does have one they want to donate, then I'll obviously take it. Or if it's even really cheap, I'll give you a little bit of money for one. Now, it's obviously not perfect, but it is perfectly functional. Now, this particular piece is purely structural. It's not a beauty piece, and what I mean by that is once the car is all together, you'll never see it, not unless you flip the thing upside down and really look deep in with a flashlight and a mirror, maybe. But again, its sole function, its whole purpose, is to support the back of the car right here. And just to hold the back end straight, keeps the back end from drooping down. Those plastic pieces, out of the box are already a little bit bent, but over time the weight of the car pushing down is going to bend them more. Then your back end is all sagging, and there's nothing worse than a sagging rear end. So again, that one goes there. The next one, and actually, yeah, and the next one goes in right there. This one's going to be a little bit trickier because of how thin it is right here. And honestly, I forget how I did the other one, the one I did a video on a couple of years ago, because I did it out of aluminum as well. But I'm forgetting how I made it. Come on. Just trying to take these screws out here. These are the straps that hold the fuel tank in place. And also, I'm kind of forgetting what these pieces right here are for. Here's the gas tank. So this actually goes around something like that. Okay. So those little pieces, I just noticed that's broken. That little part right there is broken. These pieces, it looks like, hold on to the top of the gas tank like that, just to kind of hold it from moving up too far. I can add those in later with plastic, so I don't need to put those on the aluminum piece. So that shouldn't be too big of a deal. But I think I'm going to try to, again, make this out of one piece. I'm pretty sure that on the other one I did it out of a couple of pieces, and I actually bolted them together. And again, once this is in, you're not going to see those bolt heads. You got the whole body of the car on top of that. So why Pocher molded in bolt heads is just kind of odd. I'm not sure. You'll never see those. And you can maybe see how that's already a little bit bent. Oh, and this piece here, the way that's raised up like that, that's just a spacer, because what happens here is, well, I don't have it out, the rear end of the car, that attaches, that screws to the top of the rear end of the car, the differential. And that's just a spacer, and I can make a spacer for that a little bit later. And by the way, this took me probably 3 or 4 hours. With files and hacksaws and a drill press and a bandsaw. If I had a milling machine, let's just say it took 4 hours. If I had a milling machine, I could have done it in probably 3. And if I knew what I was doing with the milling machine, I could probably have it done in an hour or an hour and a half. And I say that because it's been probably 25 years since I ran a milling machine. I took metal shop in high school, did milling machine work there. In college, I had a job working at a machine shop, actually, making hydraulic fittings. But that was 25 years ago? Holy crap. 25 years ago since I ran a milling machine. So the big thing is time. I mean, like I said, this isn't perfect. But it is completely functional. It does have a few mistakes. And you know, I hate it when people say it doesn't matter what it looks like because it'll never be seen. That bugs me. I hate it even more when I end up saying it. Because honestly, I think that every part you make you should strive to make it look good. You should strive to make it look nice, even if you can't see it when it's done. But I'm going to kind of make an exception for this one because I think it is good enough. Obviously, it's not perfect. There are some mistakes, but honestly, you probably wouldn't see them unless I pointed them out to you. Okay, that's enough of that. So let me see if this one, I need it to be, yeah, that's the right thickness right there. That'll work. So I'm just going to cut it all out of that piece right there. This one shouldn't need as much milling. I think I'll pull it out of right there. That'll work right there. So let me blue this up. Actually, take it all the way to that end right here. Would be the smarter thing to do. Waste less material. So let me go cut that out. I'll go cut that out and we'll be right back with you. All right, so here's that piece laid out. The blue is worn off a bit because I cleaned it with WD-40 after I drilled it. Kind of see the line still. So anyways, that's the basic shape laid out and the main holes drilled. Now there are 2 other holes here and here. And again, those are for the screws that hold the little clamps on for the gas tank. I will drill and thread those later after I have thinned that out a bit, because you'll notice where those screws go in is thinned down quite a bit. So I think that'll give me less of a chance of breaking a drill bit. What happened there? That sucks. Maybe I can follow that out. Anyways, sorry. That'll give me less chance of breaking a drill bit or a tap. I really don't want to break a tap. Anyway, so next step, I'm going to take that to the bandsaw. I'm going to cut that out and then just cut and file to that shape. And then we'll drill and tap the holes there. So I'll get back to you when this is at a further stage. All right, so here's that other part done, and that actually took a little while. Again, I'm thinking the first one I did, I actually made it out of a couple of pieces and bolted it together. But I believe this will probably be a lot stronger. And like I said, once it's installed, you can't even see it. The screws that, or the bolts that hold the gas tank straps on, let's see, that would go that way. The original screws, I don't have a tap that size, but I do have a tap for an 080, and an 080 fits. An 080 fits in there. So I had a tap for an 080, but I didn't have the right drill bit size for an 080. So the drill I used was a tiny bit oversized. So they do thread in. But they're a little bit loose, which at least I didn't break a tap or a drill bit. So that's a good thing. So these are a little bit loose, so when I do the final assembly, these will go in with plenty of Loctite, and they should be perfectly fine. So again, just to kind of show where these go, get some of the stuff out of the way. we'll get this brought back over. So again, this one goes in like this, and this one goes in like that, or like that. I gotta, like that, I believe. I gotta double check the instructions, and it doesn't look like it's fitting, but notice how this is tweaked. That moves, and we can put that in. It'll fit, trust me. Yeah, like that. So anyways, those get bolted in there. They hold the back of the car more rigid, more solid. And now the back one that goes back here, this one has a lot of threaded holes. And like I said, I don't have a tap that small. This one isn't that bad, but notice there is a channel here. There is a channel there. So what I might do is take a piece of steel and wedge it in there with some epoxy just to keep that straight, just to get that little bit of a bend out of it. And that'll also reinforce and strengthen that a little bit. So I think that's the plan for that one, because there's 8 threaded holes in this, and I don't have a tap, and even if I did, I'm sure I would break it off on at least one of those. So this will get strengthened, and this is not a load-bearing component. All this does is hold the brackets that hold the exhaust pipes in place. So it's not load-bearing. I can straighten it, and that will be perfectly fine. But there's those, and I don't know if I mentioned it yet on this video or not, but since I already did a complete build series on one of these Mercedes, I don't want this to be another complete build series. This is just going to be like certain things that might be a little more difficult, tips or tricks, or working on aftermarket parts. So they're not going to be labeled part 1, part 2, part 3. I'll probably put it in a playlist just to kind of keep these separated from my other videos. But anyways, until next time, as always, thanks for watching.